Smith is being kind of a dick. He's taken over the entire Matrix. And the machines are like, yeah, it's not good. We can't have that. So they negotiate with Neo and say, all right, if I go in and I destroy Smith, you're going to stop killing us. Where the machines are just like, fuck you, we'll take care of it ourselves. But they also realize that they can't. And so Neo goes in, and this is where we get basically Dragon Ball Z.
I laughed my ass off. Like, oh, and they're fucking flying through the air, punching each other. It means nothing. Like, I don't even know if they get hurt. Because, like, one of them will land like a real good sock and punch to the gut, and they'll fall into a wall.
I look at this, and I'm just going like, this is Game Shark versus Game Genie.
Yeah.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Ryan, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Cottage, and my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
Well,
dude, I know Kung Fu.
I know Kung Fu.
You downloaded Kung Fu.
Yeah.
you downloaded
Into your brain. Yeah.
Into your brain. That's the kind of movie that we're talking about. Welcome, folks. We're on episode 233. 233. And kind of following up our last episode. I don't want to say last week because we kind of it's been tough getting these episodes out. Not going to lie to you. Not going to lie to you, folks.
Yeah, those like lives things and the stuff, they're stupid, but you know, they have to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem being honest with the audience. It's kind of hard. Sometimes we're 233 episodes in. Like, this is crazy. But like it's just been kind of rough. Like I know, you know, I've had life things happen, you know, new job and things like that, and kids and going to Chuck E. Cheese. That was a thing.
Yeah, I went there too, but they kicked me out because apparently you need like a kid or something to be in the ball
dude,
pit.
Like, you know what they actually do nowadays? They did back in the days when we were kids. They honestly, Chuck E. Cheese was pretty much a Thunderdome of sorts compared to what it is now. Because nowadays they actually have, like, this is really cool. They actually will stamp your hand with a like blacklight inked number. Okay. So like and they stamp your hand, they stamp if your wife or whoever has come with you, they'll stamp that, and they'll also stamp your kid. And then when you leave, they get a black light out and make sure that you're actually who you say you are and with your kid. Like, I'm just thinking, like, back in the day, we didn't have any of this shit.
No, so, God, no. Yeah.
It really was a free-for-all and a madhouse, but that, you know, the Chucksters gotta get with the times. But
look at that progressive ass rat.
yeah, they still have a robot there. It's kind of creepy. But anyway, speaking of creepy robots, do you see what I did there? We're on episode 233, and this week we are talking about the trilogy that some people really love and some people really hate. Or you might be like me and you're just like, you know what? We got the first movie great. We don't really need to talk about the other two. And that is the Matrix Trilogy. We're going to be tackling the first, the Reloaded, and the, not Resurrections, but, Revolutions, excuse me.
It's one of those R words.
It's an R word. Somehow they were just like, we gotta stick with the R's. That's what we're moving. Yeah. So, you know, we talked a lot last episode about kind of what the Matrix was kind of for us, right? Like I mentioned that, you know, my first DVD was The Matrix, and like it was a visual smorgasbord, if you will. But this trilogy, it's hard for people to really understand how big of a fucking deal this trilogy was back in the late 90s, like 1999, the early 2000s. Literally, you could not escape the Matrix. at all at that time.
Yeah, and you say what the trilogy was, and I think that the second one could have been like that bad one in the franchise if they had stuck the landing with 3. But
yeah,
it's one of those things that if a quarterback wins the Super Bowl but then loses 8 other Super Bowls, like, doesn't that tarnish the original victory? Like, was it a fluke? What were they really that great if they couldn't win it again? Like,
I don't watch sports. John, you're bringing a sports reference to me, and I'm like, I don't watch sports.
But it's
sure.
Like, when the third one came out, and it was like, yeah, it was worse than 2. I think as I messaged you, I said it makes the second one look like Citizen Kane. That it's like, oh, maybe this actually hurts the original. Like, maybe this is just junk, like. Yeah.
I mean, I've met people nowadays who really have and I noticed the same thing with Star Wars too, that it kind of is one of those things that the trilogy itself gets better with age. Like, there have been people who've told me, like, oh man, no, I really love Reloaded, and I really love Resurrections, or not Resurrection, but Revolutions. And I'm like, are we watching the same movie? and I saw the same sort of thing with the Star Wars movies. Like, ever since the prequels, not the prequels, but the sequel trilogy came out, everyone's been saying, oh man, Attack of the Clones wasn't that bad, and Phantom Menace was okay, and no, they were bad too.
So, I also think it's the age you grew up on. Like, if you were like a little kid when the Star Wars prequels came out, you probably do have a soft spot in your heart for them.
That's true.
I think when the second Matrix movie came out, I was 17 or something like that. If I had been 12, maybe I would have thought it was the greatest sequel and greatest thing ever.
Yeah. But yeah, this movie, I mean, the Matrix itself, like, I don't know, John, did you say you don't like the Matrix? You hate it?
No, I would not. I would certainly not use the word hate. I just, I think we used that as the buzz line for the episode we did, like movies that everyone else loves that we hate. I would just say that I don't think it's as great as people say. It's an entertaining movie, but I certainly do not hate it. I just think that it's very overrated, and it does seem like the Wachowskis are just pseudo intellectuals who are trying to come off deeper than they really are. So,
well, I mean, to be fair, I think every film director does that, especially ones that become like cultural icons, that they kind of do take on a mythos of their own. Like, for instance, George Lucas, said that he planned out the entire, trilogy for Star Wars. Yeah. We know that was bullshit. We know that's bullshit. He maybe got some elements for the other things, but like, Darth Vader was not Luke's dad in the first Star Wars, in A New Hope. That was something that down the line, it just started to happen. That's why, like, when people say, oh man, I didn't, the sequel trilogy didn't have any plans. Like, dude, none of them have had plans. None of them have. I think the closest one might be the prequel trilogy. That actually did have a plan. But I mean, for the most part, they've all been kind of just like, well, let's see, let's throw at the wall and see what works. And when it does work, let's claim that it's been that way the whole time. Like with the Matrix, there has been a lot that's come out now that says that, and I do think there's some underlying meaning to this, and I think there's some truth to this, that the Matrix is really an allegory for those who are of the trans community. And I can see that, but I don't think at the time that either that was publicly acknowledged or just I don't think it was communicated to the people, actually acting and working in the film. I'm not going to deny that it wasn't, Lana Wachowski or her sister's, intention at the time. I don't read their mind, but I just think it might have been something that's like, I don't think they were actively thinking this, but it might have just been subconsciously there.
Yeah. And, a lot of times when you have these movies that can have like 25 different like interpretations, and it either means that it's brilliant or it's schlock, and like people just are putting things on it that aren't really there. So.
Yeah.
And, I think that some people might be like, John, you're a complete asshole. There's 35 books on the Matrix. So you just educate yourself. But but I think just a lot of that could just be utter like horseshit. They did an episode of South Park where it was like the boys wanted to write the most offensive book of all time. So they wrote like this tale of
Scrody Booger Balls.
Yeah. And everybody, though, it's like, it's the most liberal book ever. And it's like, what are you talking about? It's the most conservative book ever. So.
That's a great episode, by the way. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like I remember as being in grad school, and we had John Russo and Russ Streiner come to our class, and they were talking about the creation of Night of the Living Dead. And one of the things that our grad school professor was talking about, all like the social, socioeconomic meanings behind Night of the Living Dead. And I just loved it because Russ and John were just like, no, we were just trying to make the scariest fucking monster movie we possibly could with the budget we had.
Yeah.
And it's like, audiences put that label on there afterwards. And you're right. Like that to me at least shows the quality of a good film, is that audiences can kind of derive their own interpretations from it, whether it be good or bad. I mean, I watch Night of the Living Dead, and I personally can see some of these socioeconomic things that are in it, but someone else might not see that. Someone else might come on with a completely different meaning. With The Matrix, I honestly see it more in line with our increasing dependence on technology and the questions about what does that mean to be human when literally our lives are run by technology. Now, you could say that might be pretentious. I really don't see it that way. I just kind of look at it as, that's just my own interpretation of it. I think towards the Reloaded and Revolutions, and obviously now with Resurrections, it's more or less in the let's just throw all the Christian dogma crap at you.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you trying to suggest that Neo is in some way Jesus?
No. The movie is trying to suggest that by,
him literally being crucified.
Like, not even kidding. So where do we want to start coming with it? I don't want to go necessarily plot point by plot point, but I do think it's worth just kind of giving a good summary and kind of our thoughts on each one of these movies. Okay. Mainly for those people who, for whatever reason, maybe they don't like movies, which I would ask the question, why are you listening to a movie review podcast?
But thank you. Subscribe, and share. And
yeah, do all that fun shit. But let's say you are an oddball and you did not watch any of these Matrix movies. Maybe you're just like, you know what? My taste of my palate in my entertainment consuming precludes me from watching schlock like The Matrix, which I would say, get a life, watch the fucking movie. We did. But if for the person who's never seen it, okay, let's say you've never seen it, because there are some weirdos out there. Not that they're weird, but they are. Especially for a movie that's been out since 1999. Like, I've seen The Sixth Sense. Am I going to watch it again? Probably not, but it exists, and I watched it. But for The Matrix, people who've never seen The Matrix, John, can you give kind of a brief synopsis of this film?
I think, like, for the time it came out, this is the well, I'm gonna give us, I hear you laugh, this is gonna be semi-serious here, is that it was the perfect science fiction movie for what we considered the modern age, which is hilarious because it was like dial-up internet and things like that. You know, they were using payphones, for God's sakes, to like plug in and out of the Matrix and stuff. So, you know, I think it was kind of a zeitgeist thing, kind of came out right at the right time to you know, kind of play off that, and the whole idea of, you know, there's a whole nother world out there in cyberspace, and, you know, you don't have to be inside of your shell anymore. You know, you can, in a way, become your own Neo. But then I think as it went along and like technology kind of upgraded a little bit, maybe, you know, it kind of fell with the sequels somewhat. Because remember in the 80s, like movies like Superman 3 and War Games, like people thought that on those old ass computers with no internet, you could do anything because we just didn't understand them. They were terrified of them.
Well, even you have like a movie like Hackers where I find it hilarious because they're literally like spouting computer jargon that means literally nothing.
Yeah.
Like I remember there's one scene where what's his face? Oh, I forget what his name is. What's his face from Super Mario Brothers, the movie? He's
Link
like no, one of the side villains. He worked for Koopa.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm gonna forget. He was also in Short Circuit. He had the very racist role nowadays. What's his name?
Oh,
but
yeah.
Anyway,
he played an Indian man.
yes, yes, like that. Nowadays, not so good.
Yeah.
Back then, not so good either. But anyway, I remember there's a scene where like all of the hackers are attacking the computer system, and one person says, "Oh my God, they're gonna get the kernel!" Like a kernel is an aspect within computer science, and I'm just like, apparently they thought that was like destroying the computer. And they're just spouting this bullshit. But honestly, the truth is, like, that is literally how people viewed technology. Like, there literally was a movie in the early 90s called The Net.
Oh, yeah, with Sandy Bullock, baby.
With Sandy Bullock. So, the views of technology were very rudimentary. It was very much like you either had on one spectrum the Terminator, where the technology is going to kill us, or on the other spectrum it was just laughable bullshit. Okay, but yeah, so Matrix comes along, and it does hit at a point where it's not alien to think that the technology is beneficial, but at the same time maybe hurting our ability to be human. And that's kind of where I think it hits. Because, AOL.com exists at this time, and you did have that dial-up sound, and that's why you do kind of hear them jacking in. It's the same similar sort of sound that you would hear with internet dial-up. But yeah, this film, in essence, if you've never seen the movie, it basically stars Keanu Reeves as Neo, who is a hacker. We don't really know what that means. He doesn't actually do any hacking.
Just needless to say, he lives a miserable existence.
He does live in miserable. He lives in he doesn't live in a shitty apartment. He lives in an okay apartment, and he's just handing off computer disks, floppies. Okay.
Oh, and a real
floppies.
Quick, it was for all those people that were yelling at us a second ago. The name it's Fisher Stevens.
That's it. Yeah, Fisher Stevens. Yeah, but anyway, I digress. Neo is he's kind of exhausted and tired computer programmer by day, and he's an exhausted and tired computer hacker by night, and he's been trying to search for this man called Morpheus for some reason. Okay. And what he doesn't know is that under the surface of his life, there actually is a war between humans and robots.
It's like, that sounds so original. Yeah.
Because reasons. And honestly, if you're going to ask, well, what does he mean by reasons? And this point in the trilogy, we don't know.
Yeah.
Okay? We don't know. And it's not really ever completely explained in the trilogy. Now, for those people out there who are actually like Matrix fans, that there is this thing called the Animatrix, which that actually does give us a little bit of backstory and some reasoning behind why there's this war between humanity and the machines. But anyway, I digress. Neo gets swept up in this underground war. He finds out that his existence has been bullshit. Like, everything, the entire world has been bullshit. That he's actually not existing in 1999, but he's more or less existing, about 100 or some odd years in the future. That he was never actually born. He was grown. Which, that scene alone is terrifying.
Yeah. it's a good effect, and I mentioned this is one of the reasons that I didn't like this on the episode in our archives, and I know it's not the Wachowskis' fault, it's the studios, but the idea that they're using us as batteries, if that is true,
inefficient,
then why do they need the Matrix at all?
My understanding is that they found that, I mean, one, if you think about it, you're trying to placate your energy source, where it's one of those things like, why do animals exist on farms if we're going to kill them? And that's
they're using our bodies and brains as power. Did they really couldn't they just keep us in a coma?
I mean, from what I understand, and there's literally a line of dialogue where Smith says, the first Matrix was a utopia and no one could accept the programming, which I'm assuming that means that they had too many people that freed their mind, which means that you don't have that energy source, So it's one of those things that to keep us docile, to keep us complacent, that you have to be in some sort of virtual world to extract our energy.
So the Matrix has to exist for our brains to work enough to battery.
That's what I'm assuming.
Robots. Okay. And I know that they wanted it that it was our brains were a neural net processor that could feed the missing parts to the robots to help them create their artificial intelligence that took over. And the studio was like, oh yeah, people are too stupid. Just say your Duracell battery. So it's
great visual. It's a fantastic visual. I used it in the classes I taught. It was funny. I showed that scene from the Matrix, the fields of babies and humans being born in the machine world, and showed that along with the architect in Matrix Reloaded saying exactly what is it described visually in the first film. And I asked my students, I said, okay, which one do you think communicated that idea much better? And they all were like, yeah, the first one, because of the visuals. And I said, that's the power of using visuals. But you're right. You obviously can't get too deep with it. So yeah, show a Duracell battery and you're good to go.
And I mean, and the way they do that in the sequel, and I'm not jumping ahead too much, but this Matrix is Star Wars. It's a young guy who has not reached his potential, finds out he's meant for greatness, has to fight the overcoming bad guy to re-win the world that has been lost. And so. It would be like if Empire Strikes Back, that scene with the architect. If we just found out you're not the first Luke Skywalker, idiot. There's been a lot of Luke Skywalkers.
What?
That sucks.
Yeah. That pace of that movie literally died for me once we hit the fucking architect.
It's like, wow, you're just saying a lot of... You grabbed the thesaurus, and you're just saying big boy words.
Yeah, but anyway, with the first film, it is pretty much the monomyth. And we've talked about the monomyth before. That's the Joseph Campbell hero's journey, the monomyth. That's literally what almost all of the, I'd say, superhero and action type films that you see, they all tend to follow this. Star Wars is the most notorious for it. And there are people who have literally gone to George Lucas and been like, you ripped off of Joseph Campbell. And he kind of did.
He's like, well, I almost suck my balls. Ching, ching, ching. Look at all my money. Ha, 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 ha.
I mean, he does. But that's fine. Whatever.
I'm putting Ewoks into New Hope. God damn it. Stop it, George.
There's going to be an Ewok in every movie. Okay.
Darth Vader's an Ewok now.
Anyway, you're making this a very long fucking episode, John. Anyway, The Matrix is no different. It very much follows that hero's journey. And Neo ends up becoming the prophesized one. And like it's great, but at the same time, you know that this opened a gigantic fucking can of worms that we still are dealing with. Neo, the whole prophecy of the one is that a man or woman, we can honestly just say man because that's what the movie tells us, that a man was born inside of the one.
It was 99, dude.
It was
They're
99.
not letting it be a woman.
Yeah, no, we couldn't do that. That'd be too, fair. And would require that Matrix Resurrections corrects that. But anyway, yes, the prophecy of the one is that a man was born inside the Matrix and had the ability to, in essence, control the entire world single-handedly. And it's a cool idea. And at the time, I was just like, this is awesome. But it also is one of those things that, like, it's like back in the day when you had, like, Game Genie, and you would type in, like, all the codes for Game Genie, and you're just like, all right, cool. Like, I have infinite lives.
Yeah.
You're playing a
or
video
I
game.
can't take damage.
I can't take damage, or I can skip through levels. It becomes an idea of, okay, now that you've got this character who is basically invincible, where do you go?
It's over. Yeah,
it's over at that point. Yeah,
they made a self-contained movie, and cheap plug for myself. I made a YouTube video talking about how ridiculous it was that he was brought back to life by the power of kissies from Trinity, and that's really where the movie completely lost me. I'm like, what the fuck?
I mean, come on, that power of kissies was really just a green, mushroom that just caused him to, regenerate.
Yeah,
we all know that's extra life. It's a 1-up. It's a 1-up. Okay,
I got a boner.
Yeah,
but yes, but for whatever reason, now he's invincible. He can't be stopped. It's over. It's what I call for the sequel the Back to the Future 2 problem.
Yeah,
is that last scene in Back to the Future was not meant for a sequel. It was just supposed to be a funny gag for the end of the movie, and then they're like, "Oh, now you need to make a sequel," and they're like, "Oh." Fuck, what do we do now? Most of that movie is just writing themselves out of the hole they built. And so I guess I had no choice but for the second Matrix movie, but to just shit on their own first movie, because what else do they do? It's over.
And that's the problem with the Matrix trilogy, is you're absolutely right. They made an okay, and I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I really do like the first Matrix. It's got fantastic visual effects for its time. And in terms of storytelling, like, I know you have a problem with the whole kissies thing, bringing them back to life, but I don't have a problem with it because I can suspend my disbelief at that time. But the problem is that you're right. Once you become the one and you can blow up agents by, like, turning into goo and going inside their bodies, and you can stop bullets, where do you go from there? What's the next level? And it's almost like they painted themselves into a corner, which is why that Reloaded in Revolutions and honestly Resurrections have struggled with this. They're a victim of their own success, more or less. So with Reloaded, and we are kind of jumping through the next one here. With Reloaded, you get now this new problem where Trinity is going to die and Neo has to try to save her and also, like, win the war, and the machines are digging. It's very convoluted. And there's all the others. There's also the Keymaker and the Merovingian's in there, some French fucker, and
with his big ass titted wife.
You had to go in there, didn't you?
She got some big ass titties.
If you want to see them, just watch Bram Stoker's Dracula. She's one of Dracula's brides.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But there's a lot that the Wachowskis tried to do. Like, it literally is like the kitchen sink movie, in my opinion, of let's throw all this shit. Let's throw the fact that Smith has the ability to copy himself. What is that going to do? Let's also throw some philosophy in there with the whole concept of what is choice and what is what was the other one? It was choice and cause and effect, right? Like
Oh,
all this stuff, just throw it all in there. And oh yeah, let's also throw a scene where we basically illustrate that, hey, yeah, the Matrix's whole war thing has happened, what, 6 times?
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
So yeah, it's all
that
for
gets
nothing.
thrown in this movie.
It's pointless. Yeah, you're right. There's way too much going on, and I hate action with no stakes or purpose in the movie.
Yeah.
I think it was like Red Letter Media and one of their Mr. Plinkett things did a breakdown of why, a guy in a suit he really couldn't move around and fighting an old man in New Hope in a lightsaber battle was so much of a better scene than Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting on a lava planet because because there was actual emotion there and purpose to the narrative, and it wasn't just a never-ending special effects bullshit. And when I watched these movies again in preparation for this episode, the whole like schoolyard recess fight between Smith and the 100 Smiths and Neo.
You mean the PlayStation 2 versions of Smith?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's not really fair. It's not fair. This movie came out in 2003. I can't be so much of a mean
then they
person.
should have,
Or 2002,
maybe,
excuse me. This came out in 2002.
Maybe they should have like pulled back a little if they couldn't do it visually. But I know that they had, this is the Matrix, so we have to up the, special effects action scenes like no one's ever seen before. But that's kind of a hard thing to do. But the whole time, it's just Neo's never in any danger. The fight goes on for fucking ever. And then at the end, he just flies away. None of it mattered. Nothing fucking mattered there. It was just, oh, cool. Look, there's all these different agents, and Neo's hitting them with a big steel pipe, and he's got his trench coat on and his sunglasses, even though like he probably doesn't hurt his eyes because he's God and shit, and it's so cool. And like the music's like all techno and fun. It's like, well, and all I could think is, wasn't that just the first one? And everyone's like, no, fuck you, you're an idiot, die.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I mean, my problem, like I saw this movie in theaters and I saw it. I mean, one, I had the worst seat in the fucking house. I had up front in the very left corner. Ooh. And if you've been to a movie theater, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's the worst fucking seat.
That is the worst fucking seat in the house. You could have any seat and be better. And like my neck was strained while watching it. But the fact of the matter is that for me at least, it doesn't feel like there was any concerted effort to really think, what do we do next? I don't know if the Wachowskis didn't think, hey, maybe we're going to have a sequel to this. You'd hope they did, but I really don't think they had a plan beyond the first movie.
Yeah, I think like with the fourth movie, they're basically saying probably what they thought from the beginning with the second movie.
Yes.
It's the studio's probably, we're going to make it with or without you. So if you don't want your characters taken away, you better write it and direct it yourselves.
Yeah.
And so they went, okay, well, we wrapped up the story. How do we do this now? And there were a couple of things that drove me nuts about this film. But I don't know if these are just stupid nitpicks from me or if other people agree. I hated Zion.
I totally hate Zion.
Because the first movie, it's like either on the ship or in the Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty cool. But yeah, when you find Zion, it looks like you're just going to that, like, doing that cave tour on vacation. But everyone there is on ecstasy, humping each other. It's just like, oh, it's that kind of cave tour, huh?
Yeah. No, I hate everything about Zion and everything about the real world in this. Like all the characters. Like I don't hate Nairobi. She was okay. But like I really hate that fucking kid who's like the Neo fanboy. Like, yeah. I remember seeing this movie in theaters, and I bought it on DVD, and I'm just like, I fucking hate that kid. I hate him so much. I don't know why. He's just fucking annoying. And, like, I know I was watching Resurrections. I'm just like, I hope he dies. He didn't die. Of course, he's like, yeah, the war is over. I'm like, fuck you. Why couldn't you be the one? And he sure as hell wasn't invited to the Zion orgy. He wasn't.
Oh God, no. He would just be like a little spider monkey just humping everything, just juicing all over everyone. It'd be like, how can one man secrete so much orgasmic fluid? It's frightening, actually. He's like an old tortoise.
I was just gonna say, he like walks in the door to the Zion orgy. Like Morpheus is like, all right, everybody, orgy's gonna start at 11 o'clock tonight. Make sure that you've got your best orgy clothes on because we're taking them off. And he shows up, and like 2 minutes later, is like, I'm done. I'm done. Yeah,
but not only was just Zion just kind of shitty anyways, but the more times you just see how fucking terrible all of their lives are, like, is the Matrix really that fucking bad? Maybe Joe Pagliano was right. Like, maybe you at least get steak in the Matrix.
I mean, steak is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I know there's vegetarian fans out there, and I understand the reasons why to eat be vegan and be vegetarian, but I'm sorry, steak is delicious. But you're right. You know, I mean, the fact of the matter is that the lives in the real world kind of suck. And sure enough, even with, the annihilation of the human species, of course, there's always going to be politics involved. And, we need to see that.
Yeah.
We need to spend time on that.
It's the prequel thing, like, trade regulations and shit. Like, that's what people want to see in a Star Wars movie. And it's like, yeah, in a Matrix movie, we want to spend hours upon hours hearing about how somebody doesn't agree with Morpheus about this approach to this military and industrial idea. Yes. It's just like, wake me up when Neo has another pointless battle that he can't lose.
Speaking of pointless battles he can't lose, I do want to talk a little bit about how in this movie they just decided guns aren't cool anymore, and they all did like different weapons. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it's the swords, there's pipes,
pipes, everything else. I believe that might have been a reaction to Columbine.
Yeah, because I think like a lot of kids started wearing like the trench coats after this movie, and especially old Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold did. So they're like, and of course they wanted a scapegoat for anything bad. Oh yeah, there's like a school shooting every 4 minutes in this country now, but like true. Columbine was a big deal. Then it's like, it was violent video games in that Matrix movie.
And
that's
Marilyn
why
Manson.
they did it. Yeah, Marilyn Manson. And they
to
were
be
probably
fair, Marilyn Manson
reefer.
is. To be fair, Marilyn Manson isn't. He's not causing violence. He's just doing his own violence towards women.
Yeah, we found that out. He's a sexual sadist.
He's a sexual sadist, which is sad because I actually was a big fan of his. But anyway, this movie is kind of a mess. And really, to kind of like, I don't want to shit on it too much. I do want to talk a little bit about what I liked from this. Are there things that you liked from Reloaded, John?
Not really. I will say, of all things, like, and this is really sad that this is the key thing I take away. I do like the ticking clock MacGuffin. Like, the robots are on their way, but we have to get all this stuff figured out, and we have to, honestly, it almost reminds me of Empire Strikes Back. Let's just reference Star Wars again. Like, everybody's running against time, in hopes to try to figure out how to solve all of these issues and all these different set pieces to hopefully just survive. So
yeah, I'd say for me, I really like, I mean, for me personally, I like the Merovingian battle that he has. And just because for me, it's like, you start with him, stopping bullets, and then it becomes a matter of him fighting, in essence, what are vampires and ghosts and werewolves people. Like, that's actually what the mythos says, that anytime anyone's ever seen a ghost or a vampire or some shit like that, that really has just been a program that's exiled itself from the Matrix.
Yeah. Or Gary Busey.
Gary Busey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I like that particular sequence for me. Everything else there, honestly, though, is more or less a visual effects reel. Like, there's not a whole lot else to this. And some people might, disagree with me. I found the Merovingian to be annoying. I never really liked him.
Yeah.
and I thought it was funny that he became basically a practical fucking joke in Resurrections. But you know, it just felt like a kitchen sink film, and it tried to do the work of expanding the universe out, which is why you got Zion. But it just felt to me like the Wachowskis didn't know where the fuck they were going to go with this. So they're like, well, let's just throw everything and see what works. But there's no reason, in my opinion, and this is the biggest flaw, in my opinion, of this film, aside from the ending. The ending's kind of a fuck you to the audience. But the biggest flaw is that architect scene. Biggest flaw in the whole fucking movie.
Well, just to really quick, just go back to the old Merovingian thing. That's, I think, number 2 after Zion of my nitpicks. Like, if these are computer programs, why do they have so much personality?
Yeah.
Like the keymaker, when he dies, like, I'm so sorry that I failed you. And, you know, and then the Merovingian is like very shallow and vain. And his lady wants to be kissed. It's like, you're a computer program. Why do you want to even know what that is?
Yeah.
Like, just Agent Smith and all of his goons in the first one, they seemed like they were fucking Terminators. You know, they were there to solve the problem.
Except for Smith. Smith, though, in my opinion, was starting to go native.
Right. And they do that well in the second one, because it kind of like, they set it up where he's like, oh, I am actually, you know, beyond what I was before. Like, I can think for myself. I can want and desire things. Like, yeah, just get in line, buddy. Apparently everybody in this fucking universe can. And the third one, there's like, fucking computer program has a kid. How the fuck did they fuck? Their numbers. Just in their codes spliced together, you know? Was it like a bunch of like green splooge numbers that came out?
Oh, gross. Gross. But you're right. I mean, there's a lot here that is explained that doesn't make any sense. And there's a lot that is unexplained that we're just told to basically, you know, take it. Like, just sit back and say, okay, yeah, I got that. That's a stretch too far. But I'd say for me, though, what throws this movie completely off, because honestly, I could go in expecting, you know, a action event in your face every 5 minutes movie, and okay, I'll be entertained with that. Okay, I wasn't with Rise of Skywalker, but honestly, with this, I was entertained up until the point where Neo walks through the fucking door, and we literally get a pacing wall for about 5 minutes. This is the worst sin in this movie, is this scene between Neo and the architect. It honestly drives me the fuck nuts in terms of just as a filmmaker, and then also as someone who like loves the first movie, that you have a scene where all the pace that had been built up for the past 3/4 of the film basically comes to a standstill. I think I remember actually nodding off in the theater while my neck was like strained while watching that part.
Well, you don't even need to watch it. You could just listen.
Yeah. If you haven't seen this particular scene, this is the explanation of the fact that, in essence, this is the sixth time that this has happened in terms of the human beings building Zion, and then the anomaly or the one is generated, in that, in essence, the human beings are destined to always lose every single time. That's why this is the sixth version. Okay,
and the first movie's superfluous.
And the first movie is superfluous. Exactly. It basically writes out that exact thing. And the whole idea is that Neo is at this point supposed to return to the source and have his source code basically re-upped into the Matrix. Zion gets destroyed, and the cycle starts all over again. Okay? Yeah, it's presented in the most annoying, dry, dull, boring-ass way. And I know the Wachowskis will be like, well, you know, it's supposed to be a computer, and computers are boring. It's like, yeah, but you also have computer programs that have personality, but this one doesn't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so you took the words right out of my mouth there.
It is extremely grating. At least for me, I find it extremely grating. And it throws me completely out of the fucking movie. Like, literally thrown out of it. And everything after that is just, Neo tries to save Trinity, fails, and then performs some operation in her belly.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm gonna just pump your heart full of blood, like by putting my digital hand into your chest.
Yeah, that happens. And then, I forgot the ending, which again is a giant fuck you to the audience. Zion has this magic button that they can press that EMPs like the whole fucking city, because the machines are digging down to Zion. Okay, so they're digging down, and if they hit the EMP while Neo or whoever is jacked in the Matrix, they fucking die.
Yeah.
So the whole run of it is that Neo and the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar, they all get out, they escape. The Sentinels are closing in. Neo is able to actually stop a Sentinel in the real world. We don't know why. He passes out. EMP goes off. And one crew member survives from another ship who ends up becoming infected by Agent Smith. There you go. That's the end of that movie.
Does your head hurt if you haven't seen it?
Honestly, your head would hurt after watching this. I know mine did. Watching this second time. Oh, not a second time, but just another time for this episode.
What drove me nuts about that ending, too, it's what I call it the Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man or Batman Forever problem. You can only save one, and then they just save them both. Like, you can save Zion or you can save Trinity. And he goes, I'm just going to do both. It's like, what is the point of putting that kind of stakes in there if he's just going to do both anyway?
See, that would have been an interesting thing there. That would have been an interesting thing. You save Trinity, Zion, it falls. And then what happens in the third movie? Like, that's the thing is, the third movie opens it up to be about repercussions of choices.
Yeah.
What is the repercussion of you choosing the woman you love over humanity? That sounds like a more interesting third movie than what we got.
What's like what the Return of Skywalker or the feelings of the second one, the
feelings.
And it's like, Kylo Ren was like, take my hand, and there's no good or bad, there's shades of gray, and we can rule the universe together. I'm like, this will be interesting. She'll go off with him, and maybe there'll have a huge existential debate on what is good and bad. Maybe there is some things to the Sith and the Force, and she's like, nah, raspberries to you, and just leaves. I'm like, okay, no, this movie's not even gonna redeem itself at all. Yeah.
Raspberries to you.
Girl power!
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But the third film in this, Revolutions. Oh, where
do you want me to summarize it?
Because you summarize this one.
Here you go. Robot machine guns fire boom boom, and Neo fights Agent Smith for 5 hours. There's the whole movie.
So it's basically Robot Machine Boom and Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically it. Yeah. It's basically the movie. So we find out that Neo, actually, his powers extend beyond the Matrix, which makes no sense. Like, literally.
Yeah.
That whole concept makes zero sense.
The first film spends like 85 minutes getting to writing their way out of him being the one, and explaining that there is no one, to him, then making him the one again because he's the first one who's ever been able to use his powers outside of the Matrix. And so it's like, what? So you're having your cake and eating it too, and then vomiting it up, and then shoving it up your ass, pooping it out, and eating it again? Like,
oh man, that's awesome. I mean, it's horrible and disgusting, but also at the same time. Yeah, I never understood this concept because really so I use the analogy of the one basically being like a game genie, okay? This is literally like if you said, okay, you put the game genie in your Genesis or NES and, I don't know, the Genesis or the NES decided to grow legs and walk away.
Goodbye.
You put the thing in, and suddenly it's the infinite lives and skipping levels. that happened in real life. And suddenly it just grew legs and walked away and said, fuck you, I'm done. That's the equivalent of what we get here. So Neo's powers extend beyond the Matrix. Again, bullshit. And he's trapped between worlds. Like, he's not in the real world and he's not in the Matrix. He's in some kind of subway, which now anytime I ride the T, and if you live in Pittsburgh, you know what I'm talking about, I immediately get like Matrix vibes whenever I'm at the T station at Steel Tower. I'm like, oh yeah, this is where's the train man gonna come out and basically be like, you can't come on the train.
Yeah. It's after that, like all of that stuff at the end of 2, it's like, boy, I can't wait for the exciting, thrilling opening to the third movie, and it's Neo in a train station talking to a family for like 45 minutes, drinking Powerade.
Yeah, basically, that's no joke. The movie there, but yeah, he somehow miraculously gets back out into the Matrix and then back into the real world, and he now has a mission that he has to do. He decides that he is going to use his magical powers and take a ship to the machine world with Trinity. In essence, a suicide mission to, destroy the machines at their home world.
Why did he bring Trinity?
He needs someone to fly the fucking ship. I guess no one ever taught him to fly the fucking ship.
Can't they just put him in the Matrix and give him like the information on how to fly a ship?
Here's my thing. There's no autopilot at all. Like, you shunned all technology to the point where you're just like, yeah, you know what? There's no autopilot.
Well, I mean, that also wages the question, Brian. These people unplugged themselves into like a nuclear fallout disaster world, and somehow they were able to reclaim society to the point where they were able to build ships.
Hover ships.
Yeah, hover ships, yeah. So,
yeah.
If you can get past that, I guess, like...
But no autopilot on any of those hover ships.
Yeah.
We couldn't crack that nut at all.
It's like, they have to eat like battery acid soup, but but they made hover ships.
Hover ships, yeah. They got that. So yeah, on this suicide mission, the one person from the second movie who survived got a virus in him, a Smith virus, and he decides to attack Neo while he's in the suicide mission, and Neo gets blinded by a lightning gun. Because, we needed to have more religious iconography in this movie.
Yeah.
The blind man.
And
who can still see.
And I know people that love the first Matrix movie. This pissed them off. I mean, I know, like, they fucking hated when Neo became blind. And
I did too.
When Trinity's lying there dying with all the things they're saying, Neo, I won't be joining you on this mission anymore. And he's like, what? Who's talking? What's wrong? I can't see anything. It's like,
no, he can only see in code. That's it.
Did you just release your bowels? Yeah, I can't help it. I'm not going to be around much longer. I have no control over them.
No movie ever shows that part. They never show the bowel releasing. When someone's dying. But yeah, so that happens. Neo kills that guy, Fake Smith, and ends up, crashing into the Machine City. Trinity gets impaled. She's off. She's dead. And he walks over to Baby Machine Face. Is that what I would call it? Baby Machine Face. Yeah,
this is the problem when you keep needing to up it and show different things and do it's just like.
But out of all of the images that you could have gone with, show the machine god, and that's in essence what this is. It's the machine god. Out of all of the images you could have gone with, I mean, you could have gone with a giant fucking spider. Just I don't know anything. You chose a baby face out of all of them. Out of all of the things you could have gone with. You could have gone with a fucking owl. Could have gone with anything. And you chose a baby face. I was like, really? Really? Just have a giant dick just show up. Like, literally, just a flaccid dick with its little mouth. That's what you could have done.
That would make sense to me because, yeah, isn't the Matrix just toxic masculinity at its finest?
Basically. Yeah, ones and zeros just shoot out. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Neo tries to talk to the baby machine face, and he negotiates with the baby machine face, basically saying that, hey, I'll give up myself to battle Smith, because while all this shit's been going on, okay, Smith has been busy. He has been busy infecting everyone within the Matrix, like literally everybody. Anyone plugged in.
Does nobody remember this stuff, by the way?
No.
Like that. Then the second movie, the interstate fight, where like cars are flying 100 feet in the air and everyone's crashing, and there's guys with swords on the 18-wheelers. Do they like reset everyone's brain that they don't remember that? Or is it just people go, wow, that was fucking weird?
I mean, I always wondered that too, especially with all these things that happen. Like, is there just like the Men in Black just come out and flashy thing everybody?
Yeah. Maybe there's like a Matrix Men in Black. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Smith is being kind of a dick. He's taken over the entire Matrix. And the machines are like, yeah, it's not good. We can't have that. So they negotiate with Neo and say, all right, if I go in and I destroy Smith, you're going to stop killing us. Where the machines are just like, fuck you, we'll take care of it ourselves. But they also realize that they can't. And so Neo goes in, and this is where we get basically Dragon Ball Z.
I laughed my ass off. Like, and they're fucking flying through the air, punching each other. It means nothing. Like, I don't even know if they get hurt. Because, like, one of them will land like a real good sock and punch to the gut, and they'll fall into a wall.
I look at this, and I'm just going like, this is Game Shark versus Game Genie.
Yeah.
That's in essence what it is. It's Game Shark versus Game Genie. Neo is Game Genie and Smith is Game Shark. And it is just like, at the time I thought it was cool, but then at the time I was like, I don't, the stakes really weren't there, you know? And that's the thing, is that you basically have two gods fighting themselves out. There's never going to be a winner. There's never going to be a loser. Like they're equally matched. It's meaningless.
There's an old saying, like, do you want the sizzle or do you want the steak? Yeah. Sometimes you can have both, but sometimes you have to pick one. And this is all sizzle. Like, more, he's in his trench coat and his sunglasses at night, by the way. What is he, fucking Corey Hart?
I was going to say, like, it's kind of hard to fight in the rain when you've got sunglasses on.
Yeah, it's raining. Yeah, it's this dingy cityscape. It's like, wow, so cool. Like, but you're just looking at sizzle. There's nothing to this. It's empty.
Yeah. But again, there was a more interesting movie. It's called Let the Consequence of Neo choosing Trinity over humanity play out. We didn't get that. We got this. And my guess is this also was probably a reaction to some of the stuff in Reloaded. Like, I really think it was. They were less like, you know what, stay away from the philosophical shit. Don't worry about it. Even though this movie does have a lot of that. It's not as much as Reloaded. You can tell that there is a little bit of changes there. But yeah, the battle here is basically ripped from every Dragon Ball Z episode. You know, if you wanted to watch, you literally could swap out shots from Dragon Ball Z with the Matrix, and it would literally play the same way. Which is not a bad thing. I mean, I love Dragon Ball Z, but at the same time, does that belong in a Matrix movie? Probably not.
But I mean, what does and what doesn't belong in a Matrix movie? You know, especially when they have the MacGuffin of anything can be created or altered. Yeah. I guess they could be like, nah, I'm Agent Smith, and now I'm a giant elephant. Ha ha. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess there are no rules.
Yeah. But the battle ends with Neo allowing Smith to absorb him and copy him, which, okay, this part I never understood. I kind of took it as, here's how I interpreted this. And audience, if I'm wrong, please tell me, okay? Please, contact me, cinemapsychoshow.com. Let me know if I'm incorrect in this. So, if the way I envision this, here's how Smith was stopped. Because of the fact that Smith absorbed Neo and the machines were connected to Neo outside of the Matrix, that they basically, Neo served as like an open gateway so that the machines could basically neutralize him. So that's kind of what I envisioned it as. Does that sound, John?
It sounds better than like anything I had. You know what I thought?
What?
That's as far as I got.
I figured. Cool.
Like, he's like, this will never end. Well, you have to take me. Well, you put your hands inside me, bro. And he turns into Agent Smith.
Always right. This was inevitable.
And then I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. No, I mean, he just, all of Smiths start exploding, which is hilarious. But I visioned it as Neo was a conduit for the machines to basically access Smith and destroy all of the copies at once. That's kind of where I envision it. I might be wrong, but that's kind of my interpretation of it. Is it good? No, it is not. It is lazy filmmaking and lazy storytelling. It's called I didn't know how to end it. That's what that is. I don't know how to end this.
Well, too, like these movies always need a fish out of water so they can go, wait, how does that work? Or what does this do? And that was Neo in the first film. But even by the second one, he's like this all powerful, encompassing force that like he doesn't need to ask these questions anymore. And it's the same problem the Star Wars prequels had where there's nobody there to help guide the audience through any of this gobbledygook science fiction garbage.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you better just know what we're talking about or fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. So after this, the machines, which again, they have no reason to fulfill their bargain.
Yeah, they're machines.
They're machines. They whatever. They decide not to kill all the humans, and they spare Zion. And this is where we get that little fucker kid saying, "The war's over." Morpheus basically says, I've waited for this my entire life, and now it's finally come, and Neo's dead, and Trinity's dead, and the Matrix gets reset. And this is, in essence, the Matrix that we get presented with in Matrix Resurrections, okay, years later, 60 years later, okay? But there's a scene, again, we have to have a fucking architect show up again, and sure enough, the Oracle's back, and somehow, don't ask me how, she is, and they have a conversation saying, oh yeah, I guess we're going to just free, some minds. That doesn't happen. Clearly.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the fucking movie. It's terrible. It's a terrible ending to the trilogy.
It's a fucking train wreck. This series became a train wreck.
It really did. The problem here is, and this is just kind of wrapping up this trilogy had so much promise. That's the thing. I mean, yeah, John, I know you're not. Well, here's the. I know that you don't like the Matrix as much as I do. First one, but if you just look at the Matrix on just its merits, look at that first film. It has the makings of a good trilogy if it was thought out in a way that supported a trilogy. The problem with the first Matrix is that it never was intended to be that. So then when it finally gets thrown into the Hollywood franchise machine, it doesn't know where the fuck to go.
All right. That's why I was saying, did it because, but then you said that like, yeah, if they had left the first one more open with the intention of doing a trilogy, that's one thing. But, because they just made a self-contained movie, and we're like, let's move on to another project. What about that Jupiter script we had?
Well, no, the Wachowskis prior to this, their biggest movie was Bound, which I love Bound. I've seen.
Bound is good.
Yeah. Bound's a great film. And it shows that they do have a strong storytelling capability. I don't know why that hasn't really come out in every other film after the Matrix movies.
Wait, you didn't like Speed Racer?
I didn't like Speed Racer. Didn't like Jupiter Ascending, which was laughable. Like, oh man, man, that was a really bad movie. But I don't know why they've never really come up to the promise of that first Matrix film and Bound, because they clearly can tell stories. But what it's felt to me is like, this movie got crazy successful. And it was just only a matter of time. It's like, well, we're going to throw this into the grist mill, if you will, of franchise. And the end result was basically a VFX, orgasm. That's what it was. And it clearly shows that the filmmakers were grasping at straws in how to tell a story with this. So that's why you get things like, okay, we're going to throw some Jesus in there. We're going to throw some philosophy in there. Because, people like that first Matrix movie. Had some little bits and pieces here. But it never really was cohesive like the first film was. At least for me.
Yeah, the first film is very, very tight. It's a lot of times like, when you say, and I say it like every other episode, oh, they could have cut 15 minutes out of that movie. Like Matrix, I think is point by point what it should be.
Oh yeah,
and here's my 10,000th Star Wars reference. That's what New Hope is. There's nothing really to cut out of New Hope. Like it flows exactly as it should.
The truth is that there are stakes within the first Matrix. Yeah. There are absolutely stakes within it. At the time, we don't know that Neo is the one. So yeah, he could die. Yeah. We don't know if Morpheus is the one. So yeah, he could die. Anybody could die. And honestly, the almost everybody on the Nebuchadnezzar dies in the film. Okay? So there are clearly stakes within the film. And that's why it works, because everything builds upon itself. In Reloaded and Resurrections and Revolutions, there are no stakes. We know one of these people is not going to die. We know Neo's sure as hell not. We know Trinity's sure as hell not. And it's just a matter of like, where do you go from here? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I think the biggest problem that this trilogy has is that it is a trilogy. Each film is supposed to build off the other, and you're supposed to see it as a 3-part cohesive story. I look at like RoboCop, one of my all-time favorite movies. Mm-hmm. The second one has its good and its bad.
I like the second one. That's just me.
Yeah. Third one is trash, but the two that followed did not ruin anything by RoboCop for me, because it wasn't a trilogy. They were just sequels.
Yeah.
But I think because this is a trilogy and the second one, doesn't stick the landing, and the third one just falls face first into a poopy toilet, I think that it affects the first one. It damages the first film.
Yeah.
I don't think you can just look at the first one in a bubble any longer, because this is supposed to be one 3-part story.
It's a real shame. The second one's not as bad as the third one. I don't want people to think that, oh God, these guys hate both of them. No, I personally don't hate the second one as much as I hate the third one. I think the second one, unfortunately, sets up a lot of bad things for the third one. And that's what it's guilty of, is giving us a taste of all the shit that we end up getting in the third one. If you liked more Machine and Zion crap, guess what? You're going to get that in the third one. And sure enough, that's what you get. Giant fucking robots battling giant fucking robots.
Yep.
Forgot to mention that one, by the way. But yeah, it's a damn shame, because the first one showed a lot of promise and should have just stuck as just one movie, rather than going into franchise territory.
But that's Hollywood for you. If it's successful and it makes money, they will keep making them until they kill your dreams.
It's true. It's true.
The only one that I think of that hasn't done it is Back to the Future, but I just know they're going to make it with Justin Bieber someday. Like, Marty McFly's kid is going to be Justin Bieber, and they're going to make 5 of them, and
You know what?
they're all going to be
Ghostbusters
progressively worse.
Afterlife wasn't that bad. I gotta say that it was a rare. It was rare, dude. It was rare. Maybe it's also because of the fact that I watched that 2016 Ghostbusters and was crushed, very much crushed.
I mean, the fact that you said it wasn't that bad, that's the review. Not it was great.
I did not. Listen, I had a good time watching it. I didn't hate it. It made sense to me. What I found disgusting about it was the fact that we couldn't have this movie when Harold Ramis was alive because Bill Murray had to be a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
That's what I felt about it. Because I'm like, you could have made this with the man alive, I don't know, 20 fucking years ago. But we couldn't do that. Because you got a butthurt about Groundhog's Day.
Yeah. Dan Aykroyd wrote like 35 different goddamn scripts, and Bill wouldn't read any of them.
I won't read any of them. I'm busy making Wes Anderson films. Okay, fuck you, asshole.
And Garfield.
Yeah, you make Garfield instead of Ghostbusters 3.
A Tale of Two Kitties is apparently is more important than a Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah. Well, with that said, we're going to be exiting the Matrix right now and returning you to your regularly scheduled programming.
Brian, one more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing, because we haven't mentioned it. What do you, now that there is a 4th trilogy breaking film, which we talked about last week, how does that film change, alter, or do nothing for your feelings on the original trilogy or the first film or anything like that?
I'd say for me, because I didn't outrightly hate Resurrections. Like, I didn't have the same visceral hatred reaction as I had for Revolutions. A little bit for Reloaded, not as much as I did for Revolution. I mean, for me, it in essence kind of did what the first movie was supposed to do. Its ending literally is the exact same ending from the first movie. No joke is. That's why, like, when I heard that they're not making another, I'm like, okay, cool. Don't. Because it in essence was the same ending. It just was, 20 some odd years later. So, I mean, it doesn't do really much for me other than just give me what we had with the first movie. I think some of the meta things are great personally. Because it does kind of speak to some of the cynicism we have towards Hollywood. But it really, in terms of just the overall mythos, doesn't really do much because that Neo is a different Neo than what we had in the trilogy. I do think, honestly, and we said this during the Resurrections interview, not interview, but just review, that it kind of bordered on clip show. Real badly. Remember when Morpheus was actually played by Lawrence Fishburne, but we couldn't get him because we had to write in something about a younger Morpheus? Yeah. Well, here's some more image. Remember Agent Smith, but he was played by Hugo Weaving, but we couldn't get him, so we're gonna have the guy from Hamilton play Agent Smith. And he's gonna do a bad job.
Remember Chewbacca? That's a different franchise.
Yeah, but if you're asking me what does this do for the overall mythos, it doesn't really do much for me. I felt that there was no need for another one, but Warner Brothers wants money, so
we want money.
But they didn't get it from this one.
Yeah.
So, good job.
I'm like, oh, no movie can make money in our current world right now, and then Spider-Man makes like a quadrillion dollars.
Funny thing was, Resurrections was one of the most pirated films in the past couple months.
Oh, so it probably actually did fairly well.
So well, if it didn't get pirated, yeah. So I mean, they couldn't use that. I honestly, what do you think happens when you put your movie on HBO Max at the same time as it's in the theaters? And it's the 4th one in a franchise that was popular 20 years ago. What do you think's going to happen? You're not going to get a whole lot of people there, but you might get people who are just like, I'm not buying HBO Max, but I'll pirate the movie.
Or somebody like there's no amount like too many people on like HBO Max. So like, I have people I know it's like, hey man, do you have HBO Max? I'm like, yeah, and they go, oh, I would have given you my password and stuff. I've given it to 9 people.
Wow.
So yeah, there's no limit on how many people can be on HBO Max or a lot of these sites and stuff. So yeah, there's probably 50 people out there sharing an HBO Max password and shit, you know.
Because let's be honest here, the piracy never goes away, it just evolves.
Yeah.
Okay?
True. Yeah.
It's a hydra. You cut off one head and two more sprout in its place. It's honestly but yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it. What were your thoughts about the fourth one kind of in this mix now?
You know, I had no expectations by going into the fourth one, but as we mentioned, because of 2 and 3, and to roll back, like how I didn't really, I hold the first one nowhere near my heart or anything. So I think that what you said is kind of on the nose. Like, okay, we just kind of remade the first one because this is where we wanted to stop in the first place.
Yeah. And that's honestly kind of what I think Lana Wachowski was trying to do. I think she was like, you know what? I got sucked into this franchise crap and it kind of destroyed me. So let's just kind of, you know, they want to make another one. So fine, let's make another one. But it's basically going to be the first movie. But through the vision of living in 2021 or 22, you know, that's kind of the way I look at it. It's dealing with that technology. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah. And for those that say Keanu Reeves doesn't age, oh yes, he does. That long-haired old man.
If he shaves off his beard, it doesn't look too good.
Yeah,
it really doesn't. The man he's great as John Wick. He looked fine in this movie. I didn't have a problem with him, but like when he shaved his beard off for Bill and Ted, I was like, man, that guy got some city miles on him.
Yeah.
But he's still kicking ass though. Good for him though.
Yeah.
And from what I read on the social medias, he's a very nice person. Like actually a kind person.
Yeah, that probably didn't help me with the first Matrix movie either. That like I've always laughed at his acting. The only time I thought he's ever done good was when he was Ted from Bill and Ted, and like, and I think it's because he's playing a complete idiot that it covers his acting ability. So when I saw the Matrix movie, I'm like, Keanu Reeves, he's a horrible actor, but yeah, he's apparently a much amazing, wonderful human being. So
yeah, good for him. Yeah. Well, John, where can they find you at on the social medias? Speaking of being on the Matrix.
What does it matter, man? This is all fake. It's all an illusion, man. The Unreal J Wolves, or you can also find me at JDubs Video Nasties over on YouTube.
You can find me at Brian Connington. I also run the Psycho Show page. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Psycho Show. You also can find us on the Epicast Network, epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or question you want to throw away, or if you, just like us, are contemplating our own existence and asking us if when we're asleep we're actually in the real world and when we're awake we're actually in the Matrix, you can contact us at cinemapsychoshow.com. And be sure to follow or subscribe to us wherever you listen to audio, and we will see you next time.
Ooh, Matrix prequel, where it's all just about Neo just doing his hacking job in the 90s.
Oh, they're mean.
Epicast.